Greetings, good people. Today I have a very quick tip for you, and this is a setting that you need to enable ASAP, as it's going to be very useful for you in order to get the right kind of loot and the right leveled loot. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So, the setting's called world scaling. By default, it's going to be off. I'll show you how to turn it on, but first, let me explain what it does. So, if you go to the map, right, if you look at some of the initial areas, right, the deep and Aurelian, you'll see that the power range is, very low, especially if you're like a level 30 character. If you have any decent build going on, you will easily be above like 2500, 2600, without investing in your echoes, like without having like a very high level weapon. 2600, 2700, you just get by the virtue of leveling up, right? At this point, you'll see that the lower level areas are actually very useful for you, and that's really bad because it takes away a huge portion of the map that holds very low value for you outside of the resources that they drop, right? There's a way to make this more useful, and that is to turn on world scaling. So what world scaling does is it scales, as the name suggests, it scales the all the regions and the enemies in the regions to your level. This works really well, especially if you've hit level 30, because at that point what's going to happen is these enemies that are present over here right now, they'll be dropping low level echoes for you, but once you turn on world scaling, it's going to drop level 30 echoes for you. To understand the impact of that, I'm just going to walk you through exactly what that entails. So let's talk about this hobgoblin echo, right? A level 11 hobgoblin echo is going to have 224 weapon power and 75 crit rating. If you take just level 29, you see that the stats almost double, and for a level 31 the stats are going to be even higher, right? So low level echoes have very low value, outside of the leveling progress. When you're going, let's say, from level 1 to level 30, whatever the highest level echo you have, just equip that. Do not start leveling it up until you get level 30 echoes, right? After that, the stats are actually something that you can carry into endgame, right? So at that point, it would make sense to level that up, right? Investing in the low level echoes does not make sense. You do not need to do it. You get to level 30 very easily in this game. It's not really very difficult. It happens halfway through the campaign. When if you're using just one character, halfway through the campaign you would have hit level 30. So at that point, if you turn world scaling on, you're going to start getting level 30 gear, level 30 echoes, which is going to be very useful, as it's going to help you easily transition into end game. So let's say there's an area which you have to repeatedly do because you're trying to farm a resource, right? Let's say the very common example is archaic bone. It only exists in the deep, right? So you have to run the deep repeatedly, but you do not have the world scaling enabled. The enemies are going to be very low level. It's not going to be fun to play. The loot that's going to drop is going to be very low level. It's just absolutely useless, right? Outside of the resource. Now, if you go to settings, you just turn on world scaling here, click apply, you'll be set. So now what's going to happen is, based on your level, the peak of the range, the peak of the power range is going to increase to what is considered to be standard for level 30 content in this game, which is 2723, right? So any area, doesn't matter how low level it was, the lower range will stay the same based on your level, but the higher range will be the level 30 range. So now if you go to these areas, you go to farm whatever certain resources you want, the enemies will also be level 30, which makes it more fun, more engaging to play, because the enemies don't just die when you sneeze at them. They actually put up a bit of a fight, and the echoes that they're going to drop are going to be level 30 echoes, which will also transition into end game. So that's it for today. Just make sure that you turn world scaling on, especially if you're level 30. It's going to be very useful for you, and the loot that you're going to get is actually it's going to translate very well into end game. That's all I had for you today. Thank you, people, for watching. Have a great time ahead. Bye bye.